evil deeds. Secondly, we now have evidence from the Quran, from the prophetic traditions. And so the Shaykh says, وَأَمَّا Sunnah, as for the Sunnah, from the evidences is what we find established in the two authentic compilations, the Sahihan of Al-Bukhari and Muslim, from Ali bin Abi Talib, who said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, مَا مِنْكُمْ مِنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا وَقَدْ كُتِبَ مَقْعَدُهُ مِنَ النَّارِ وَمَقْعَدُهُ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ. Okay, so the Prophet said to his companions, there is not one of you except that his seat in hellfire has already been written, and his seat in paradise has already been written. Right? What this means is Allah has prior knowledge of the inhabitants of paradise and the inhabitants of hellfire. This is from His eternal knowledge. And Allah has that knowledge. Who is the inhabitant of hellfire, who is the inhabitant of paradise? Then this knowledge has been written down. Right. Just because it's been written down does not mean that anyone has been forced to do the actions that will subsequently lead him to go to paradise or go to hellfire, right? So we'll look at that shortly. So anyhow, this is what the Prophet, he said this. And then the companions, when they heard this, they thought, okay, well, they said, قَالُوا يَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ أَفَلَا نَتَّكِلُ عَلَى كِتَابِنَا وَنَدَعُ الْعَمَلِ. So the companions said, in that case, why can't we just rely upon what's been written and leave off action? Like if that's the case, that paradise has been written already or hellfire has been written already, then what's the point of us acting? Should we just abandon action? Should we just abandon the prayer and fasting and doing hajj, doing pilgrimage, and being good to the parent, good to the neighbor, giving charity, doing remembrance, doing all should we just abandon all of that and rely only upon what has been written? So the Prophet ﷺ, he said to them, i'malu, he said, work deeds, do deeds. فَكُلٌّ مُيَسَّرٌ لِمَا خُلِقَ لَهُ. Because every person it will be facilitated for him, it will be made easy for him to do that for which he was created, to do what he was created for. As for the one who is from the people of happiness, meaning of paradise, then the deeds of the people of happiness will be facilitated for him. And as for the one who is from the people of wretchedness, meaning the people of hellfire, then the deeds of the people of hellfire will be facilitated for him. Right? Then the Messenger of Allah, he mentioned a passage from the Quran. And in this passage, which is in Surah Al-Layl, towards the end of the Quran, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. So Allah said, as for the one who gave in charity and who feared, meaning feared Allah, and he believed in, meaning paradise and the hereafter, then we shall make easy for him the path of easiness. We shall make it easy for him. And as for the one who was stingy, meaning he didn't give in charity, and he considered himself to be self-sufficient, and he disbelieved, meaning in the hereafter, paradise and so on and so forth, then we shall make easy for him, like the path of like the difficulty and difficult for him to do the righteous deeds. So what do we take from this hadith, this tradition? So the Shaykh goes on to explain that this is like, for example, if a person says, if Allah has decreed for me to have a son, if Allah has decreed for me to have a son, then what's the point in me getting married? Right? Getting married to have relations in order to then have a child. Like the person who says this, like the person who says, if paradise has been written for me, then what's the point of me doing anything? Shall I not rely on the fact that paradise has been written for me? This would be the same as saying that if it has been decreed for me to have a son, to have a child, then what's the point in me getting married? Then it's going to happen anyway. Right? And nobody, the Shaykh says, this is not, any person who says this, لَعُدَّ هَذَا الْقَوْلِ سَفَهًا فِي الْأَقْلِ. This statement would be considered to be like foolishness in intellect. In the same way, if a person says, well, I'm thirsty, or I'm starving, I'm hungry, if Allah has decreed for me, for my hunger to be removed, then it's going to happen anyway. What's the point in me having food? What's the point in me taking food? It's going to happen anyway. But this is stupidity, because we know that Allah has only, in His creation of the creation and His decree, He's decreed it to be such that if you are hungry, that hungry will go if you eat food. And if you want to have children, it's by having relations within marriage. In exactly the same way, just as, for example, if you are hungry and Allah has decreed, and it's in His prior knowledge that your hunger will be removed at a specific point in time, and that's in Allah's knowledge, then that hunger being removed will only be because you will eat food. So you will eat food and your hunger will be gone, right? Because He took the means. In exactly the same way here, when the Messenger said that there's not one of you except your place in paradise or hellfire has already been written, that's because it's in Allah's prior knowledge, right? So a person will only get to paradise by doing the deeds of paradise, and a person will only enter hellfire by doing the deeds of hellfire. And so each person, it will be facilitated for him to do exactly that, right? And that's based upon the person who seeks guidance and wants guidance. Allah will make it easy for him, right? The one who believes in the hereafter, the one who seeks the hereafter, Allah will make it easy for him to do deeds of righteousness. And as for the one who doesn't believe in the hereafter and doesn't do the deeds, then it will be made hard for him to basically to enter into paradise. So the point being that this should now be very clear, because just because it is in Allah's knowledge that at some point you will be hungry and your hunger will be removed. Like for example, you will go to sleep tonight. In the morning you will wake up and you'll feel hungry, you will feel whatever, or thirsty even, right? And so that's in Allah's knowledge. That's going to happen, and it's written down as well. So you don't now say, well, okay, well if it's written and whatever, then there's no point in me actually drinking any water in the morning or having any food, because my thirst or my hunger is going to go anyway. Now, if you were to think like this, you would be counted as the Shaykh says, it's a idiocy, it's a foolishness in intellect. So in the same way, just because it is in Allah's knowledge that these people here are in paradise and these people there are in hellfire, it doesn't mean that you say, well, okay, if that's in Allah's knowledge and it's written down, then obviously there's no point in me praying and fasting and doing righteous deeds, because it's going to happen anyway. But no, it's not. Right? You only enter paradise through the ways and means which have been legislated for that to happen. And so what this means is that you don't rely upon the decree, al-qadr, that Allah has decreed things. Rather, you take the ways and the means. And the one who seeks the hereafter and paradise, Allah will make it easy for that person, right? So that's why you see the believer who believes that he will be resurrected, he will be held to account, he will be rewarded, good with good, evil with evil, right? This person has the seeds of Iman in his heart. Allah will now make it easy for this individual to do righteous deeds and to take the ways and means through which he will enter into paradise after Allah's mercy. On the other hand, you have a disbeliever who basically believes, Darwinian evolution, there's no purpose to life, there's no hereafter, there's no resurrection, there's no absolute right and wrong. And so, I'll make my own philosophy and I'll decide what's right and wrong. And, he just lives that life. Well, okay, that's what you've chosen. Allah will make it easy for you to, to do the deeds that basically are going to eventually lead you into hellfire, because you've been written for hellfire. But at the same time, no one has forced you to do anything. You were given the opportunity to act. Right? You were given the opportunity to act, but you chose to act and to do things that would be the means for you entering into hellfire.